Hello there, my name is Mac Monder, and welcome to my world. The first time I read a comic, I was 11 years old. Some of the characters had been a part of my life beforehand through movies and TV shows, but I'd never experienced what it was like to read a comic book. That was until one fateful Sunday afternoon, where I wandered down into my basement because I was bored and looking for something to do. Down there, I saw two comic books on the shelf, both titled Batman. And I was like, oh, Batman? I've seen him in the movies. Batman's fine for me to read. So I sat down and I read the first one. The first one was titled Batman the Killing Joke. And it's at this point, if you know Batman comic books, you know comic books in general, you might be like, oh, probably not the best age to be reading that comic. For those of you who don't know, in it, Barbara Gordon gets shot and raped. And then the photographs of that get shown to her father in the hopes of breaking his mind and breaking his spirit. I was 11 when I read that. But I was like, wow, this is a new world. I've never had a story like this before, have I? So I continued to grab the second book afterwards and started reading that one. That one was Batman Hush, which, I would say is more appropriate than The Killing Joke, but still, I would say I was a bit young for that one as well. But yeah, that was my introduction to the world of Batman, the world of comics, and yeah, so I continued from there. I kept on reading more and more comics, mainly focusing on Batman at the time. There was, the odd one out here and there. I was in elementary school at the time, so I would have read Mouse, the story about mice in the Holocaust, and the story, not actual mice, it is the story about Jews in the Holocaust. They're just drawn as mice. And then as well as Bones, but, mainly sticking to Batman, going through all the classics, Batman The Long Halloween, Year One, The Dark Knight Returns, all the big name comics. If you know Batman comics, that is. Otherwise, those are very good. I highly recommend them. But, as time went on, I started going into the more off-brand, the ones that I hadn't heard about, and just started picking ones off of shelves. I started getting stories like Batman the Widening Gyre, where you experience Batman in a relationship, but in a relationship where the person actually accepts him as being Batman before they get into it. So you don't have to have those weird moments where it's like, where she gives him an ultimatum. It's like, it's either Batman or me. And every single time you see that, you're just like, he's picking Batman. We already know this. Or, there's none of that. His occupation is accepted before they get into a relationship. There's no need for her trying to change him. Rather, you just sort of see Bruce becoming a happier person. And then as a result of that, Batman becoming more trusting and like helping out this new, what are they called? The people who fight crime, new vigilante that's in town, and helping him out more and more, and being more willing to trust him, like as his relationship improves with this girl. And it's a really sweet comic book, and I really enjoy it. But then, at the same time that this is all going on, the comic book movie craze is booming. It's a booming industry. Christopher Nolan movies were coming out. Iron Man movie was coming out. Everything was just hustling along. And, this is a perfect thing to be happening at the same time. I got to experience comics both on the page and then see reflections of what I read appearing on the screen, and it was great. As time went on with that, though, we started getting into the later years, 2011, 2012, 2013. I started viewing comics differently. Like, I talked about some not superhero comics that I had experienced before, but it was still mainly Batman-centric, right? That started to change at those times as well, and my thoughts on comic books was, I guess, expanding, if you will. I started reading ones that weren't superhero related. Comic books like Sandman, which is a horror story, and just that was something new. I had never experienced a book trying to with the sole purpose of making me feel nervous or scared or just unsure of what was going to happen next in the way that Sandman did. That was unique. The Walking Dead was kicking off at this time, so that was new comics that I was getting into, which were, gory and that sort of thing, and it was new. It was fun, and I'm still going through this sort of not superhero sort of phase. I'll still read superhero comics, but I don't know, I've moved away from DC and Marvel. I've moved away from the big two companies that everyone knows about when they think, and what everyone thinks about when they hear comic books. And I feel like the general audience, the general public still sees comic books how I saw it when I was a kid. They still see it as this sort of industry it's superheroes. That's what comics are, and they're stuck in that. And as a result, a lot of people don't want to get into it. It's like, oh, I'm already tired of seeing superheroes on the big screen. I don't need to see them in my books as well. But comics are so much more than that, and that's something that I've come to realize over the years. You have comic books like Comixology. Not Comixology, that's a website. Oh, I'm an idiot. No, Logi Comics. Logi Comics is this comic book that's just a biography of Bertrand Russell, which is fascinating. It's such a thrilling book to go through, but it's also not what you'd expect out of a comic book. Recently, I read Alex and Ada, which is a romance comic about this guy and a robot and dealing with their relationship, and sort of it's really interesting because it starts off with the robot not having artificial intelligence, and so he's sort of wanting more out of the robot that is in his life, and the thing that's somewhat a person but also not. She'll answer questions for him, but if he asks her anything for her opinion, then she just replies without it. So he wants more than that and seeks out more than that and ends up installing artificial intelligence in her, and then it's this weird, and then it's dealing with that relationship, dealing with something that started off as owner and object and has switched now to person in person, and sort of trying to figure that out while also balancing the fact that AIs are technically illegal in the world that they're in. It's new. There's so much there. There's comic books about everything nowadays, and I want everyone else to be able to experience those stories that they might not get to. And it's a shame that the public's perspective on it is just superheroes, it's dumb and it's silly and it's for kids, when it has the ability to make me feel sad and it has the ability to make me feel happy and move me. And there's just so many things that I think that the comic books as a medium can deliver in a way that nothing else can. But I don't know. So yeah, this is my world. This is where I am now, just sort of going through the comic books that I find around me. If you're looking to get into them, I would say go with Image Comics. The main reason for that is there's a lot that aren't superhero related, and also a lot of the times on the ones that they sell, the first one is only like $5 cheaper than the next one's on. So it's like you just gotta save a little bit of money. And yeah, so thank you for being here and have a nice day.